Hi everybody, thanks. Morning. Thanks for coming out. So we're doing this monthly now, lightning talks, third Monday of the month. I'd like to see as many people up here as possible each month. Today we've got myself, James and Mark present. So we'll try and keep each talk about 15-20 minutes, we'll keep it within an hour. I'm up first. We're going to be talking about Gatsby, building molten sites with Gatsby. So before we dive into Gatsby, quick overview really of kind of where Gatsby started from. That's the JAMstack. That's a term that's kind of been around on the web now for maybe 6-7 years. So it's nothing new, but it's really been kind of had a renaissance recently under kind of Gatsby, Netlify, those kind of brands. What the JAM actually stands for is JavaScript, APIs, and markup. So it's those kind of three elements that come together and form the architectural stack of that front-end application. So the loose definition of this is really kind of the modern workflow architecture for building web applications, and really the developer tooling around front-end applications at the moment. It's really kind of made this the golden age of the JAMstack. So what are the benefits of the JAMstack in front-end applications? Primary use case for JAMstack traditionally has been for blogs, product marketing sites, anything where you have a static site without kind of server elements. But the benefits that JAMstack brings really loan themselves very well to the kind of e-commerce world. Firstly, that would be performance. So JAMstack is traditionally static assets. You will have HTML, CSS, sprinkling with JavaScript in most cases. So those static assets can be served over CDN, which kind of with that comes performance, speed. Especially important in e-commerce is the focus on SEO that those static assets bring with HTML, etc. Secondly is kind of infinite scaling, because you're on a CDN and you're just serving static assets. Those essentially scale infinitely, often free, so you don't have those server components to worry about. Better developer experience. So this kind of touches on what I was just saying about the golden age of JAMstack. Now you've got like automated deploys, atomic deploys, and things like Netlify, like now. They can all be triggered from version control and Git. You can trigger those with build hooks, which we'll talk about later with Molten. So using those with a CDN, you get that kind of instant cache and validation as well, so you're always serving the latest version of your site. And security. So because the JAMstack site is just static assets, you're not responsible for any server aspects. Obviously there is a server involved somewhere, but there's no server-side aspects for you to maintain or worry about, patch vulnerabilities, etc., etc. So that's an advantage as well. So there's really one kind of JavaScript framework in this space that's kind of become the headline act, and that's Gatsby. So Gatsby is a static site generator built on top of React, and it allows developers to build dynamic apps, dynamic sites inside the React ecosystem. But Gatsby provides a kind of powerful static generator with lots of build tools. So those two combined together are really powerful. One of the key elements of web applications and websites these days is data fetching. We work at an API company, believe it or not. Everyone who uses Molten is fetching data from our API. So that is one of the real areas that Gatsby excels in, and they do that with the out-of-the-box GraphQL layer that they provide. Basically, that allows you to kind of query data from a number of sources, various sources, whether that be the REST API, GraphQL API, perhaps a Gatsby source plugin, or even local markdown files. So you can actually query a whole range of sources with Gatsby and kind of stitch them together in your single site. So that's really powerful. So the Gatsby community is really thriving with this. There's a whole range of source plugins for all kinds of things, Contentful, WordPress. There's a Molten one now, which we'll talk about later. So people are building source plugins to enable people to build powerful Gatsby sites. So what we're going to look at here is just going to look at an example page query. So this is typical GraphQL query. We are specifying the fields we want. In this case, we're querying Contentful, the page resource. We're looking for a particular page for a slug field that equals home, and we want to return subtitle and title of those fields. We're also looking for a Contentful asset that has a title equal to avatar, and then return an image based on that. So these queries are actually kind of made available in an application scoped GraphQL schema. So what I mean by that is actually your GraphQL schema for your Gatsby application is compiled at build time from various sources. So as I said before, you can have a Gatsby site which queries Molten data. It also queries data from Contentful. It might also query local markdown files. Using those existing source plugins from Gatsby, Gatsby will compile the markdown, the GraphQL schema for you. So you will get these queries pre-compiled in your GraphQL schema. You don't have to worry about creating them yourself. So it seemed to me like there's, as I said before, there's a natural fit between the JAMstack and eCommerce. Its positives and its benefits lend itself very well to kind of building e-commerce websites. So it seemed natural to kind of build a Molten source plugin to kind of communicate with our APIs. And that would enable people to build these kind of fast, static e-commerce sites that the web is kind of trending towards. So as we kind of hinted at earlier, Gatsby Source Molten, it's an open source Gatsby source plugin which wraps our REST API and will create the nodes, the Gatsby nodes, the schema required for Gatsby to use that you can use in your Gatsby site. And this gives developers the flexibility to build those e-commerce sites exactly as they want. So they can query their data, and they can do as they want in their React application at scale. So this is what a query would look like if you were using the Molten source, the Gatsby source Molten plugin. So what we're doing here is we're actually kind of writing a query to get all of our products for our store. All Molten product is the type, so it's saying give me all of my products in my store. And then inside of the node here, we're just requesting certain fields. So we want the ID, the name, we want the meta, display price of the products. You also know as well there's a custom field here as well. Gatsby gives us all of that, including the custom fields from flows, simply during kind of the build time. So it kind of does all the requests for us, figures out what's in the JSON object, and builds the schema accordingly. You'll also notice as well, with main image here, we're actually using gatsby-image, which is something really awesome, which we'll talk about in a bit. But essentially that allows us to kind of pull remote images and build local copies of them, so that we can lazy load them on the pages and not have to kind of get them from a remote URL. So one thing you're probably wondering as well, is things like static sites. How do you kind of build pages for each resource on demand? So Gatsby has a number of APIs that we can use to create pages dynamically during the build process. So we can actually utilize the GraphQL schema, and then what's returned from that, we can actually use React templates to create static pages from that data. So if you imagine I want to build a unique product page for all of my products, I'm going to query for the products, and on return of them, we're going to build a page that follows a React template. So then you can just kind of build the page out as you want. Also, as I touched on before, gatsby-image, what essentially that does is, so if you imagine all of the image assets in the Molten product, whether that be a main image or a file, they're all in an S3 bucket. So what we can actually do is actually tell the node APIs in Gatsby to go off with those URLs of S3 and actually create local nodes in our Gatsby app. So that will go off, it'll retrieve that image from S3, and then write those local copies of those to your local copies of those assets to your Gatsby site, so that in the site directory you've got those images locally. You don't need to go off and get them remotely, so we can lazy load them faster and optimized as well. So that really helps with performance. It's particularly important for e-commerce images. One thing as well I talked about earlier is with kind of build hooks. So things like Netlify, they have a build hook that you can trigger. So one thing that we have set up on the demo store, which I'll come to in a second, is listening for events from Molten. So when Molten, we have an events API, so when catalog has an update, whether that's a new product or an update product or delete product, we actually then fire a webhook to Netlify to tell it to rebuild the site to update that. So if you add a new product to your catalog, as soon as that Molten webhook fires, we trigger a new build Netlify that will go off. That'll fetch all of your Molten products again, rebuild the site accordingly, so you'll get that new product data instantly. Well, not instantly, but the build will happen instantly, and depend on the size of the build. You know, you're talking 30 seconds to a few minutes. Product demo store, like Jamie's mostly been working on, I've helped out a bit. So this is using the Gatsby source plugin. So we can see here, we've got our categories here. So we'll go ahead and click this. It's pretty much instant. So you'll notice like the images are loaded in. So that's kind of what we get with Gatsby image. So it'll lazy load them. So it kind of has this really small thumbnail that it'll load first, and then it just blows it up and it kind of blurs it a bit. So while it loads, whilst it actually lazy loads the full image. So it's really fast there. We've got a cart in there which Jamie's working on still. This is obviously, the cart is obviously the non-stack version of it that we're talking about. We'll have checkout in there. So all of this stuff's kind of, as well, like I said, custom fields, that's all flows powered, so we get that as well. We've got categories down here. Oh, this is really hard to navigate. Yeah, so we can check out categories. So we can hit any, it's not just products, like we can hit any of the endpoints really, but obviously the catalog ones make more sense. Categories, collections, brands, etc. So this is collection. It's not working.
Free shipping, Barton.
If you go to the check, there's a cart.
Go to the cart.
Go to the cart, yeah. And then this is when it makes API requests directly outside of
So if I increase the quality, So,
So it's the API response.
That's our API.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Wait.
because
Hold on a second.
so like I said, you've got a static app there for like product pages and stuff, which makes sense to be static. But then obviously you want things like your cart to be dynamic, so we can still make regular API calls in there because it's just React app on top. So we've got the static stuff with the React layer. So